From Sci News, new species of Thescelosaurine dinosaur discovered. The Thescelosaurines were a group of small to medium sized plant eating dinosaurs that inhabited North America during the late Cretaceous epoch. This is not exactly correct. The thing is that the Thescelosaurines first evolved in the early Cretaceous period around 130 million years ago and would go extinct at the mass extinction event around 66 million years ago. So here they already existed for 30 million years. The late Cretaceous starts at around 100 million years ago. The newly discovered Thescelosaurin species Fauna herzogi shows evidence that these dinosaurs spent at least part of their time in underground burrows. Here is the depiction of Fauna. Oh, very nice. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guide Live Daily News. Fauna herzogi lived approximately 99 million years ago in what is now Utah. So this is possibly found in the Cedar Mountain Cedar Mountain formation of Utah, in which there have been a variety of different species of Thescelosaurines. There have been somewhere between 20 to 30 different species of Thescelosaurin throughout the Cretaceous period that have been discovered. These were mostly plant eating dinosaurs. And one other famous individual, this might be close to the most famous of the group. This is Oryctodromeus. It's not a very large dinosaur. It only reached about 7 feet in length. It might have weighed somewhere around 80 pounds. And they have been found in burrows. So it is very likely that this animal was a burrower like today's prairie dogs, but even wolves will create dens. And then you also have it where there have been several Rictodromius as well as different species of the Thescelosaurin found together. So it's very likely that these animals lived in groups. The background. So this is a picture, I believe, possibly drawn by the paleontologist Jack Horner, who has done an incredible amount of research on different species of ornithopod dinosaurs, especially different species of hadrosaur. However, he is also the paleontologist that pushed the debate that T Rex was a scavenger and not an active hunter. And the problem is that you would have needed an exceptionally slow metabolism, like something like a reptile, to have that type of a lifestyle. There's even vultures today, which are quite notorious scavengers, do quite often hunt for their own food. But this specific hadrosaur, not hadrosaur, iguanodontid in the background, because true hadrosaurs hadn't necessarily evolved yet. Um, who is this? It's not hitting me. Let's go back. Oh, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you love talking about animals. At that time, the area was a large floodplain ecosystem sandwiched between the shores of a massive inland ocean to the east and active volcanoes and mountains to the west. It was a warm, wet, muddy environment with numerous rivers running through it. This was also a time when the Earth was experiencing a bit of a global warming event. And this was also, right after you probably had larger snowfall occurring in different parts of the polar regions. Paleontologists from North Carolina State University and the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences unearthed the fossil and other specimens from the same species in the Masentukit member of the Cedar Mountain Formation beginning in 2013. The preservation of these fossils, along with some distinguishing features, alerted them to the possibility of burrowing. Also, um, going on to other animals that have been found in this formation. So, this is cedar pelta, which possibly existed shortly before um, Fauna, the Thescelosaurin. But this is actually a member of the Ankylosaur family of dinosaurs, despite it looking like the Ankylosaur's closest relatives, the Nodosaurs, because of its distinct spike-like appendage or the osteoderms along the side of its body, as well as not really consisting of much of a tail club. So this animal would have had predators such as smaller species of dromaeosaurs within the area, even certain species of megalosaurs, It is also possible it might have existed with larger carcharodontosaurs during its time. Oh, real quick, this animal was close to the size of Ankylosaurus. So, Cedar pelta could reach about 30 feet in length and weigh over 5 tons, and it was an herbivore. Fauna herzagi was a small bodied plant eating dinosaur about the size of a large dog with a simple body plan. It lacks the bells and whistles that characterize its highly ornamented relatives, such as horned dinosaurs, armored dinosaurs, and crested dinosaurs. But, well, yes, bells and whistle. I'm guessing it's bell, like, is in what you see with like a moose, that extra area of tissue and fur, or a whistle. I'm not sure exactly what that's referring to, but it could be also referring to the different distinct horn-like structures that you would see on ceratopsians. Certain hadrosaurs might have also had a bit of a horn or osteoderm characteristic along the top of their head or neck. But that doesn't mean Fauna herzagi was boring. Fauna herzagi shares several anatomical features with animals known for digging or burrowing, such as large bicep muscles, strong muscle attachment points on the hips and legs. Yeah, the Thescelosaurines, along with different species of Hycephalodontids, were quite athletic in physique. Fused bones along the pelvis, likely to help with stability while digging, and hind limbs that are proportionally larger than the forelimbs. But that isn't the only evidence that this animal spent time underground. The bias in the fossil record is toward bigger animals, primarily because in floodplain environments like the Massachusetts, small bones on the surface will often scatter, rot away, or become scavenged before burial and fossilization. This is very true. This is where when many tend to ask, why aren't dinosaur fossils, prehistoric animal fossils found everywhere? It's because of this exact process. Most organisms are scavenged. And if like large mammals, reptiles, amphibians, or further back, like the dinosaurs didn't take advantage of that carcass, um, then you would have it where the insects and then eventually like mold, fungi, will take advantage, and eventually, along with rain, the sun, it all breaks down. So you need specific and quick burial processes for fossilization to occur. But Fauna Hurzagi is often found complete, with many of its bones preserved in the original death pose, chest down with splayed forelimbs, and in exceptionally good condition. So I'm guessing this sounds like we've found several of the Thescelosaurine. One other thing, well, it's not the only thing, but there were also several sauropods found in this formation that date back into the early Cretaceous, over 125 million years ago. Within this area is the Abitosaurus. So this is actually a member of the Brachiosauridae lineage of dinosaurs. Many tend to assume that the Brachiosaurs went extinct by about 145 million years ago at the end of the Jurassic. Um, and that's also shortly after Brachiosaurus went extinct. But this is not true. They actually persisted into the Cretaceous for some time. Abiosaurus was a bit smaller than the more famous Brachiosaurus or even Giraffatitan, Ultrasaurus. Giraffatitan is technically an African species of late Jurassic brachiosaur, but Abiosaurus could reach over 60 feet in length and weigh somewhere around 20 to 25 tons. Brachiosaurs were also much more heavily built compared to their distant diplodocid relatives. This is a really good picture, too. Okay, so let's see. If it had already been underground in a burrow before death, it would have made this type of preservation more likely. Dr. Lindsay Zano, Fauna hozargi skeletons are way more common in this area than we would predict for a small animal with fragile bones. The best explanation for why we find so many of them and recover them in small bundles and multiple individuals is that they were living at least part of the time underground. Yeah, it sounds like almost like a meerkat or prairie dog colony under here. They were just much larger. Badgers also dig burrows. Let me know in the comments what your favorite species of Thescelosaurine is. Essentially, Fauna Herzagi did the hard work for us by burying itself all over this area. That is deranged. Um, but that's Permian. Oh, okay. So there was a amphibian that was about 3 to 4 feet in length called Diplocalus that lived way back in the Permian period around 290 million years ago. Many of its fossils have been discovered in the Permian Basin or the Texas red beds near Seymour. It's a little town in North Texas. And this animal, there have been several individuals with the snout missing. And the top predator in the area was actually a proto mammal called Dimetrodon. And it's very likely that this animal, also looking at the bite marks, would go over to their burrows, wait for them to perk out of the burrow, and bite the front of their skull off. It's possible you could have had it where certain dromaeosaurs that had much more robust skulls, or maybe even certain um, who is it? Megalosaurs might have done the same thing to these smaller Thescelosaurines. So let's see. Although the researchers have yet to identify the subterranean burrows of Fauna herzagi, the tunnels and chamber of its close relative, Oryctodromeus, have been found in Idaho and Montana. Yeah, it looks especially like southeast Idaho is where Oryctodromeus is from. So yeah, not necessarily too far from Yellowstone. These finds support the idea that Fauna herzagi also used burrows. Another thing is in this region, you have the famous Deinonychus antorhippus. So this animal that probably lived shortly before Fauna appeared. However, there is a possibility it might have coexisted with Fauna. Deinonychus has been found in states like Colorado. It lived at least 108 million years ago during the early Cretaceous. It was about 10 feet in length, and there have been much larger estimates for the size of this animal, probably weighing up to 200 pounds, because originally it was thought that Deinonychus might have only weighed around maybe 150. I was pushing it, but it is possible that this dromaeosaur could have weighed somewhere around 200 to 220 pounds. And it also had a very robust skull, unlike most of the dromaeosaur lineage. It is possible that they may have fed on fish. This is a really good drawing. This is just obviously very painful. This is probably representing it hunting something like Fauna or even an Eryctodromeus, but there are also a wide other variety of Thescelosaurines. This was also the species of dromaeosaur that was used for the raptors in the movie, well, all of the Jurassic Park movies. Let's see. So, yeah, it's also like described by by the famous paleontologist John Ostrom in the 1960s. So let's head back. Um, Fauna herzagi is also a distant relative of another famous North Carolina fossil, Willow a Thescelosaurus neglectus. Okay, this is also a much smaller species of Thescelosaurin. Well, not much smaller than Eryctodromeus or Fauna, but it lived much later in the Cretaceous, like around 60, somewhere between 66 to 69 million years ago, and it also fed on plants for the most part. Also, a distinct characteristic about these animals is that they have all 5 digits, and it's possible that they were all slightly clawed as well. It's just that when you look at other species of ornithopods, whether it's like certain iguanodontids, now these are related to the iguanodontids, but obviously a very different morphology, or if you're looking at the ceratopsians, they just have a completely different foot structure. Especially if you're looking at Hadrosomorphs, even iguanodontids, tend to have almost like a hoof. And the iguanodontids might have usually have a thumb spike and that extra extended pinky finger, but it's just odd that they had that technically a three-toed hoof. Let's see. Willow, a Thescelosaurus neglectus specimen currently housed at the museum and also thought to have to have adaptations for a semi-fossorial or partially underground lifestyle. Thescelosaurus neglectus was at the tail end of this lineage. Fauna herzogii is its ancestor from about 35 million years prior. The researchers believe Fauna herzogii is key to expanding our understanding of Cretaceous ecosystems. Fauna herzogii gives us insight into the third dimension an animal can occupy by moving underground. Now, let me know if you think that animals like Eryctodromius and Fauna had the ability to make large tunnels, like even meerkats. Possibly, if they even had a, you think they had some sort of a intense, like what, just society like meerkats. Considering meerkats are some of the most aggressive. That's not the exact term. They're just um, I guess anti-friendly of almost all burrowing mammals. Okay, let's see. It adds to the richness of the fossil record and expands the known diversity of small-bodied herbivores, which remain poorly understood despite being incredibly integral components of Cretaceous ecosystems. Now, this animal went extinct before fauna first appeared. This is Acrocanthosaurus, which lived in different parts of, well, especially North Texas about 110 million years ago, and would have hunted different species of long necked sauropods, possibly even the medium sized ornithopods or guanodontids at this time. Acroganthosaurus could reach the size of a smaller T Rex. So Acrocanthosaurus is around 38 feet in length and weighed on average somewhere around 7.5 to 8 tons. But it's possible that this animal could reach over 9 tons. Didn't have a very robust jaw structure. It's very thin and narrow jaw, but it also did have very similar characteristics of the upper skull, like with what you see in slightly larger carcharodontosaurs, like Giganotosaurus over in South America. But Giganotosaurus wouldn't evolve for about another 11 to 12 million years. Okay, let's see. People tend to have a myopic view of dinosaurs that hasn't kept up with the science. We know now that dinosaur diversity ran the gamut from tiny arboreal gliders and nocturnal hunters to sloth like grazers and, yes, even subterranean shelterers. I wouldn't necessarily agree with this type of a description. Maybe from the beginning, like in like the early ancestors, like the archosaurs that evolved into true dinosaurs, but these sloth-like grazers, um, even the sauropods could still move at like 8 miles per hour at least. Um, I'd say like the giant ground sloths, like later into like the Pliocene, Pleistocene epochs, even back in the Miocene, they've mm, I don't know how to describe that. That's just not a good comparison. Okay, well, um, let me know what you think about these different burrowing animals over in the Cedar Mountain Formation. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guy Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. And if you love talking about animals, share this show with everyone you know because nothing is better than all animals all the time.